Hi there, students. Oil and water as a metaphor, like oil and water. Oil and water don't mix. It's not possible to get them to mix. So very often we use this about two people who don't get on well. So clearly I see that Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump get on together like oil and water. The teacher and I get on like oil and water. We get on very badly. Or perhaps politics and common sense seem to be mutually exclusive. Politics and common sense are as compatible as oil and water. Okay, these are just two things that cannot coexist. They can't mix together. You can't get them to stay together easily. Okay, so like oil and water, work and pleasure, work and free time do not mix easily. They're like oil and water. So these are two elements, two factors, two groups, two people that don't agree. They don't get on well together. They repel each other. These are two things that are incapable of coexisting harmoniously. They're like cat and dog. The cat and the dog are like oil and water. They're both permanently trying to hurt each other. So the leaders of these two different political groups are like oil and water. They're always arguing. Yeah, you use this to describe two people who don't like each other, who don't get on, because the oil floats to the top. So yeah, these people, they don't mix. Oil and water don't mix. People with certain characteristics don't go together. I personally think that money and medicine mix like oil and water, because when do you start putting a value on human life? How much is too much to spend on a patient? And clearly these two concepts are like oil and water. So when two people are like oil and water, they're very different. They don't get along well. The military and the church get on together like oil and water. They're two things that just don't they don't mix well. There's no good mix between them. They're always conflicting. So oil and water don't mix. These two people are like oil and water. The Taiwanese and the Chinese seem to be like oil and water. There seems to be a lasting dispute between them. Yeah, so oil and water. These are two things you can't put together. I think very often the supporters of Manchester United and the supporters of Manchester City are like oil and water. You put together two groups of them and you'll probably end up with a fight. Tourism is something that destroys local beauty spots. So I think tourism and maintaining a local traditional feel are like oil in water, because normally the tourism has much more water. So Formality. I think I'm going to give this a 5 in formality. I think you could use it everywhere. Notice if you say these two things are oil and water, it's a metaphor. If you say they're like oil and water, it's a synonym. But I think use it anywhere. So oil and water.